I would like to respond by giving a reflection from a Roman Catholic perspective. 5 years ago, the Irish people voted by a majority of 62% to allow same-sex couples marry, and most of those who voted in favour were Catholics. Catholics who openly ignored the advice of their institutional church to vote against the measure. And if there was one thing that most persuaded them to vote yes, it was the personal testimonies of gay people, many of whom went public for the first time. A lot were couples with children who espoused family values, but what fired all of them was a determination that their grandchildren would grow up one day in a more just and equal society. It was these stories that touched the hearts of Irish people, transcending all the usual abstract arguments about the rights and wrongs of gay marriage. Voters recognised that they shared a common humanity with LGBT plus people. Suddenly, they saw gay people with new eyes. They saw us as their daughters, their sons, their sisters, their brothers, their best friends. They saw us as real flesh and blood people. My country's vote in 2015 was an historic moment, not only for LGBT plus people here, but for LGBT plus people all around the world, because Ireland was the first country to hold a referendum on the issue. Sadly, though, it was a dark moment for the institutional Catholic Church. Senior Irish bishops said they felt a sense of bereavement, and the Vatican's Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin, described it as a defeat for humanity. 5 years on, thanks to that vote, many gay people in Ireland can now hold their heads up a little higher, and many are happily married. But prejudice against us, while less overt and no longer legal, still persists. And sadly, much of it is fueled and generated by the institutional Catholic Church. And that's because homophobia is embedded in the orthodox teaching of the Catholic Church. Sometimes it's hard to see this because the institutional church frequently proclaims to the world at large that it loves gay people. Didn't Pope Francis famously say, "Who am I to judge?" Didn't Cardinal Parolin welcome a group of LGBTI people to the Vatican in 2019? And only 2 months ago, didn't Pope Francis make some positive comments supporting same-sex civil unions? The problem with all these proclamations of love by the hierarchy is that it's hard to square them with the actual orthodox teachings of the church, the teachings that apply to ordinary Catholics on the ground, teachings that explicitly and uncompromisingly say that gay people are objectively disordered and their love intrinsically evil. Sadly, the institutional Catholic Church, including our beloved Pope, wants to have it both ways. Because of course, if you love gay people, you wouldn't call them objectively disordered or intrinsically evil, would you? You wouldn't use such language. And if you found yourself in an organization that did, wouldn't you immediately try to change it? No such attempt has ever been made to change that language by the institutional Catholic Church. Even after the Pope's most recent comments, his positive comments about civil unions, the Vatican reaffirmed church doctrine. Within days, it issued a statement saying that the Pope's quotes related only to arrangements of the state and certainly not to the doctrine of the church, which has been reaffirmed many times over the years. In other words, objectively disordered and intrinsically evil still stand. And if you claim to love and respect gay people, wouldn't you be here today attending this conference, perhaps as a speaker or a signatory to the declaration affirming the sanctity of life and dignity for all? Have any Catholic cardinals signed our declaration? I don't think so. And the only two Catholics speaking here today are two lay Catholic women. So where is the love for gay people that the institutional Catholic Church proclaims? It is important that we are truthful about this and call out the hypocrisy. It's important because it's hurting gay people. I'm a member of a reform group in Ireland called We Are Church, and only last week we received an email from a university student who was in despair about the church's teaching. And this is what she wrote. She said, "My girlfriend's parents are Catholic and have used this as justification to be exceedingly homophobic and hurtful in the 6 months since she came out to them. For example, they were refusing to pay her college fees unless she signed a contract stating that she would not see me, and have told her that if she is in a relationship with me, she cannot live in their house. We are still in university, so financially speaking, she has no option but to live with them. Recently, her mother went to a priest to get his opinion on this relationship, and he confirmed all of her views. My girlfriend's faith is important to her, and as you might imagine, she is struggling to reconcile our relationship with her place in the church." Homophobia, as illustrated in this email, persists because it is embedded in the orthodox teaching of the Catholic Church. And until that changes, gay people everywhere will continue to suffer pain and oppression. As you know, unlike Ireland, the Catholic Church is not a democracy. It is an autocracy. The Pope is the supreme legislative authority. Pope Francis is the man who has the institutional power to change things if he wants to. I hope and pray that he finds the courage to go a lot further than just making a few positive comments about civil unions in a TV documentary. I hope he stops saying he loves gay people while still upholding teachings that demean us and describe us as objectively disordered and intrinsically evil. And until he does, gay people will suffer. I thank you for the opportunity to speak here today, and I especially thank Jane O'Zane and her team for this wonderful initiative. Well done to all.